Hello and welcome back to the balance training and coaching video. My name is Kurt and it's good to see you once again. Today's video is on creativity, as you will notice from the title, and this video in particular is for Jamila at company W. And as you know, Jamila, you and I spoke, I think it was 2 or maybe 3 days ago at your workplace in the staff restaurant area, canteen area, and you had a very particular question in relation to creativity, and as you're aware, this is the response. Now I just need to let the rest of the general public know that this video in particular is very tailored. I make it known that the videos generally are in response to a particular question from a member of staff. This one is very much so, and therefore I've put this into 6 parts, and Jamila, I will put at the bottom of the video, scripted, the 6 parts. I'll also put the timings for the transitions so that it's easier for you to locate the sections that you're particularly interested in, okay? So I'll write those in the description box below the video. I'm also therefore going to use my trusty red book. This is the company book diary. Because I've written, as you can see, a lot of different things for you on this in an endeavour to respond to your request. So yes, to repeat, to the general public, you might find this is perhaps a tad too specific and therefore not as relevant. If that's the case, do forgive me, but that is partly the nature of this channel. As always, the general public, if you would like me to make you more videos on creativity, but on other features or aspects, let me know and I will happily make you some videos. Otherwise, this video is for you, Jamila, and let's see where we go. So all of that constitutes part 1. I'm calling that the introduction. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed part 1. Part 2. Part 2, I wanted to just refer to the emails that I'm going to send you. We discussed them, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In fact, I'll tell you what, I will put a title card up now with the 6 emails I'm going to send you. Here they are. Okay, hope you enjoyed those. There we go. I'm sending you those handouts, as you're aware, and one thing in particular I wanted to re-emphasize was, you know, we discussed this approach of, you said that you have this meeting once a week with anywhere between 5 to 8 people, and so you said it would be useful if you had quite a nice broad range of options when it comes to being creative in those sessions. Now, to give it some structure and some shape, and to enable you to be a bit scientific about this in terms of what works for you and what doesn't, what I recommend you do is choose a maximum of 3 per week. And what I mean by that is, for example, maybe choose 1 running effective meetings variations for that week, choose 1 do talk think, and or choose 1 creativity technique, or 1 from the 101 series that I mentioned. So I would suggest, start off with 3 of those and use 3 per week max and see how you get on, and then adjust it from there. And then to repeat, like I said, you can methodically work through and discern what works great for you, what works quite well, and what you can afford to not use anymore. The other thing that we also mentioned is when you use these creative methods, use them at least 3 times or more. Quite a lot of people have a tendency to try something once and then they say, oh, I tried that, it didn't work, or it wasn't very good. Well, you only tried it once, so like I said, try it at least 3 times, Jamila, and then see how you all feel about it. Okay, that constitutes part 2. Hope you enjoyed part 2. Now here's part 3. So part 3, you wanted me to explain 2 very particular techniques, and I will do that now. So, so I call this scale method or spectrum, and it's a really great way to get people moving, to animate what you're discussing, and to create energy, and to just get people more comfortable with conversing with each other and with you. So the idea is that you create a scale or a spectrum, and you can do it in many ways. One way, of course, is to draw it on a piece of paper. You might do that. You might even have a huge piece of paper on the wall. Maybe you do it on the wall. Maybe there is no wall. Maybe it's a glass wall that's designed so you can write on it, like places like the Hub in King's Cross. You can write all over these seemingly glass walls. You can also physicalise it. So you know how, like, for example, sometimes you can ask 10 people to stand up and say, could you please arrange yourselves in terms of how many weeks and months you've been with the company? This end is day 1 and that end is X number of years. So everyone shuffles around and they stand in a particular position. So I call that spectrum or scale. Another way to do it is you can, for example, have the numbers 1 to 10, or 10, 20, 30, 40, up to 100. You can have them on the wall, you can have them on the floor, you can have them on the ceiling. So, depending on what you're doing, you know. And now you can use this in lots of different ways. It might be, for example, from 1 to 10, where 10 is I absolutely agree, and 1 is I absolutely don't agree. What do you think about this idea? Off we go. Or if it's 1 to 100, it might be from 1 to 100, where 100 is 100% confidence, 50 is moderate confidence, 1 is no confidence at all, really. What's your confidence with ... So you get people to move on the spectrum or the scale. So that scale method or spectrum, very useful, quick, you can get a lot of information instantly. I've also known people, I've done it myself as well, to run an exercise, start with a scale, e.g. what's your general opinion about this? We all stand on the scale. 10 is I totally agree, 1 is I don't. Then activities are conducted, and then the scale is repeated. Okay, where do you all stand on the scale now? To see how people have moved or shifted in their opinion or their stance, etc. So, that scale method, really good, I really recommend it. Helicopter was the other method you asked me to explain. There's a good chance you've done this, and again, you can do it on paper and with objects. You can actually do it with people, and you can do it with pieces of paper on the walls. So a very common example is, let's say there's 8 of you, and you put yourselves into 4 pairs, 4 sets of 2, and you have 4 pieces of paper on the walls, maybe on the points of the compass, and you say, right, please stand at the first piece of paper, so pair here, pair here, pair here, etc. And either the sheets are blank, or you have written something on them, and it's basically a request for a response from them. Now it might be you want their ideas, or you want their experiences, or you want their concerns, or you want their hopes, and so on. And then you say, okay, you've got 2 minutes, off you go everyone, just write up onto the wall the piece of paper, the flip chart. When the 2 minutes are up, you pause it, you say, okay everyone, that's time, can you please cycle around 1 position clockwise? Okay, thanks very much, off you go. Once again, you've got 2 minutes on the next sheet of paper. So it's used, for example, when you need feedback from people or contributions from people, on, say, 2 or more particular features or facets of your work. Another version of a helicopter I explained to you is you're seated maybe in a circle. You can do this anywhere, in a park, in a cafe, etc. And you all draw an image first on a piece of card or paper. Then you pass it round, one position clockwise. So therefore you're receiving an image that was drawn by the person next to you. Then you write words around it that are catalysed in that image. Then you pass it around again and you do the next action that we went through and so on. That's another version of helicopter. Can be very good with group creativity brainstorming. All right, that's part 3. Here comes part 4. Part 4, I magically have acquired a book. And this part is on post-it note methods. Something else you asked me for was, can you give me some ideas in relation to using post-it notes? We've discussed how post-it notes can be a very useful tool for group brainstorming. One reason why, as we've established, is because quite often in these situations it's just done discursively. We all sit around talking for 2 hours and generally that's exhausting. Also, it's not as productive or as creative. And therefore we established that sometimes you want to combine an individual action with a group action. So rather than just discussing a matter and trying to come up with ideas as a group through discussion, quite often you want to have some individual actions embedded in between all of that. So yes, post-it notes. Therefore, some ideas on using post-it notes. Yes, so clearly one option here, and we discuss this, is one post-it note per person, and they write one idea on it. Or it's 3 post-it notes per person, and they get to write down 3 ideas, and so on. So that's one way to do it, of course. We've covered that. I've already mentioned that, you know, the environment is very rarely used when people brainstorm, and just keeping an eye on the time here. Yeah, so use your environments, the walls, the tables, the ceiling, the chairs, other people, etc. So where you place post-it notes in terms of writing on them, or once they've been written, and how you move them around and use them, use the environment around you. It makes it more dynamic. And, you know, getting up and moving as well, it can be an extremely important part of the creative process, rather than just sitting in a chair, thinking and talking. Mostly we just write words. That said, images are extremely important, and again we discuss this, and you'll recall that I gave you a couple of ideas, Jamila, in terms of how you can do this using images. If you subscribe to the notion that it's true that we think in pictures, then this really does come into play. So, for example, give everyone a post-it note and say, right, I don't want you to write a word or a phrase. I want you to just empty your mind first. And what images come to mind when you consider X? People draw the images, and then, as you know, you can work with those images in 1,001 different ways. Maybe they get to write several images on one post-it note, or 5 post-it notes, each with an image. Then what you can do is you can do what I call a build. And a build is, for example, everyone gets 3 post-it notes each. They write 1 image on each post-it note for this creative focus that we have. And then you say, right, now I want you to pair up and I want you to share your images and just play around with them, see what comes out of the ether. When you've done that, you put the pairs into quads, so groups of 4. Off you go again, share the images. You should have 12 images now. And it's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, you know, and it's quite amazing how much can come out of a few minutes of discussion and play around half a dozen or a dozen images on post-its. You can then come together as a whole group if you like, and or each group of 4 or each set of 2 get to present their ideas. Be careful with that, by the way, because that can go on and on and on, and it gets boring and it kills the creativity. What else do we have? Oh yes, you might really like this because it can make the whole process quicker and easier and simpler. And it's in 2 parts. The first part is a pre-draw. So for example, you say to everyone, when you come to the meeting next, say Thursday, can you please bring 2 images on cards or post-it notes or whatever. So they're pre-drawn. That can be really, really helpful in lots of ways. Another method is what I call the live draw. So again, if you're using these post-it notes, what you do is you say, right, who's going to go first? Someone says, I'll go. Now remember, post-it notes these days are excellent because they come in all different shapes and sizes. You can actually get post-it notes that I think are literally that size. It's A5, is it? I can never remember this. But they're about that size. Green, blue, lilac, purple, orange, and so on. You can put one on the wall, for example, or on the table, on the desk, and we all watch you draw first. So we say, okay, Jamila, what comes to mind when you think of female explorers? No talking, just draw. Invariably, people start really enjoying it and saying, "Is that a mountain? Is that a biplane?" You know. So you draw live, no commentary. See what comes out. That can be excellent. One more on post-it notes. And this can be brilliant, again, because it can save time and energy and make your meeting far more efficient. I believe you can do this with your team because you're a good team, you're well connected, you're quite open with each other, and you seem to work well together, and you don't seem to be too embarrassed about sharing your thoughts together, which is obviously very helpful. So the idea is you, before you go to the meeting, you agree that you're going to grab your own mobile phone and you're going to record yourself, okay? I know that probably freaks most of you out now, but hang on, it's all cool. And you basically pre-record it. So it could be pre-drawn and you record yourself showing it, the drawing, or it could be live draw pre-recorded. So you shoot rather like this, and you say, okay, you asked me to think of female explorers, here I go. Female explorers, images. That's the plane. That's the Earth. That's a female explorer in space. That kind of thing, something like that. The idea is, always with this is, have fun with it and don't edit as you go along. You can edit later. Okay, so there you go, some ideas on using post-it notes. That's part 4, I think we said. That's part 4. So thank you very much, and see you in a moment for part 5.